each who we represent?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I think so, because LaShawn hasn't been here and this is her first meeting, so we can go ahead and go start with that.
Perfect. Also, Yadira, I realized I just put up the agenda with the notes with timing and stuff, so I'm switching to the other agenda. So let me switch real quick.
So did we decide who's taking notes? I replied that I'm able, but is someone else already doing notes?
We don't have anybody, Megan. If you're able to, that
Okay.
would be wonderful. I try to, and then I have gaps.
I tend to take short notes. Is that
That's okay.
Megan
All
is
right.
really good at that.
Absolutely.
Better short than nothing, right?
I will be the note taker.
Excellent. Well, Yadira, could you please start us off then?
Oh, well, yes, I can. Welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful to have you here. This is our second meeting for our Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative. And today we have quite a few people, but I'm going to go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves. We have a nice agenda here by our wonderful Renee Marshall. She is the one that keeps us all organized, tidy, and neat. We would literally be lost without her, but welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to see you here. And I am Yadira Arellano. I teach at both Rio Hondo and El Camino College. I am going to be here today. I am here present, not 100%. I just got my second Pfizer vaccine yesterday. And I just texted the team. I am having such bad symptoms this morning. Well, I started last night, but just complete, like Megan, Megan, I remember when you told us, I am just like, fever, my body, I can't even walk because I feel like my legs are they're like swollen. I don't know. But welcome, everybody. I had to be here in the meeting. I can't just be in bed. I have ADD or some type of something I have, but I have to be out of bed. So welcome, and I'm happy to see you all here. And I'll give it to Renee.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Renee Marshall. I'm an education consultant working with El Camino College, and I'm thrilled to be involved in the LA region and working on the Teach Collaborative. This is only the second meeting of the new funding cycle, but as we all know, Leah Martinez has led us for many, many years, and she continues to be a huge support and resource and leader of our group, and it's appreciated. But we're excited for this next round of funding, and lots of updates today. Excited to see everybody and appreciate you being here. So with that, why don't you introduce next, Bobby?
Hi, I'm Bobby Becca. I think most of you know me. I am the grants person for El Camino College, and I help with grant management on grants like this one. I'll pass it to Leah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leah Martinez, and I'm the interim project manager at Rio Hondo College for the Teacher Prep and Pathways program. Glad to be here and to support this initiative.
Who do you want to pass it to, Leah?
I'll go.
Megan.
Oh.
Go ahead, Rose.
No.
Oh,
Just
go.
go.
Yeah.
I just see silence, and people are here to use their time. And somebody they chatted in the box yesterday at a big meeting and said, Rose, could you please stop talking? I'm like, dude, nobody's talking. What's your freaking problem? I mean, how rude you are. But I didn't go there. It was in my head. And I just said, you know what? Nobody's talking. And thank you very much. And you are talking. You always talk. And that's all I said. But, you go to these meetings and the etiquette has to be there. We honor each other. But if there's silence and people are here, waiting for something, we've got to communicate. We got to get things off, I hate going to meetings when nobody's saying anything. What's the point? Why did I show up? So Megan, please go ahead and I'll come after you.
Good morning. I'm Megan Kaplinski, Long Beach City College, and I get to teach education classes and coordinate our program. And I also get to co-sponsor our Future Teachers Club. So I'm happy to be here.
I am Rose Gafani Maina. I am the chair of Business Civic Engagement Pathway, which includes child development at Los Angeles Trade Technical College. We are working on our Perkins grant right now that has just almost taken us down the ground because we thought we could change it and then we found out we couldn't. So the faculty are pretty upset because they don't want to go to any more Zoom conferences. We wanted to work on digital badges and that has been denied. But we have the Strong Workforce Grant, and that's why I'm in this meeting, to make sure that we are clear on what we're doing. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm LaShawn Brinson. I'm Child Development Department Chair at Los Angeles Southwest College. And so I'm looking forward to hear where we are with everything today. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. This is Mayra Rodriguez. I'm with East Los Angeles College, and I am one of the career pathways coordinators, but I also work very closely with the TPP Collaborative. I am also an adjunct faculty member for child development. So I'm really happy that even though we didn't get the funding that we were asking for, we're gonna continue and let's look for some sustainability within the program. Michael?
There we are. Hello, I'm Michael, and I had a sleepless night last night for some odd reason. But I'm just getting myself.
Join the club, Michael. Join the club.
That's fascinating. I always thought that was a female thing. I didn't realize that men have that issue too.
So thank you for saying that, Renee. I didn't want to say that.
I just assumed it was just me. I do it like I'm up every single night. So you did too, Michael? Oh goodness.
For no reason at all. It was just odd. I was like, tossing and turning. I'm like, everything is good unless I don't know.
But is this because of COVID or you had it before?
I mean, this is the first time during COVID, but over the years, I've been around a while, so yeah, but not too often. It was just odd. So, but hey, I'm here. Thank God.
We appreciate you being here, even exhausted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the coordinator for Teacher Pipeline and amongst some other coordination for CTE programs. I work with the CTE department right here at Pierce. So I'm happy to be here this morning.
Happy to have you, Michael.
Thank you.
And then do we have anybody else? I think
Kimberly's on too. I believe Kimberly's on.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, I'm from Cerritos College. I am the Education Department Chair, and I'm on part of the leadership team and co-collaborator for our teacher track program. So I work closely with Sue Parsons and Colleen McKinley.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Kimberly, is this the first meeting you're attending?
No, I've been at some others, but the names keep changing. So, I mean, I'm just going to call them the Renee meetings. I've been to a few of the Renee meetings. So now it's Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative.
Oh, yeah. So this meeting, this is the first for this meeting, right, Renee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What happened, Kimberly, was some of the colleges that are engaging this time did not get the funding with us. So we have a couple colleges, I think there's two that didn't get into the round with SWP. And it was interesting because one or both actually reached out and was like, hey, do you mind if we still join? And it was like, absolutely. This isn't about, it's kind of like TPP. It's no longer about the shared funding. It's more about who in the region, is doing the work. So that's why we pulled off the SWP name off of it, just because it's not tied to the funding anymore. So it's another Renee Renegade kind of situation.
I was going to say that depending on what meeting, that's what I'm going to call them now, that Kimberly, the Renee meetings.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of the Renee meetings. So
yeah.
So I guess my first, I don't know.
You're from Cerritos.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate everybody being here so much today. Want to make sure we got everybody too. So if there's anyone else missed or if anybody pops on, please make sure to call it to our attention. So we're going to start off with a quick update on CCC Aoe, which was a conference earlier this month. Was it last week? It might have been last week and the week before.
2 weeks?
2 weeks? I don't know. Anyways, we had a great presentation.
The acronym, please.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Rose. California Community College Association of Occupational Education. So what it is basically a CTE conference for the community college system. And it's a huge one. When we go face to face, there's often 600 people at this conference, and it's twice a year. Normally, the March one is in Sacramento and the October one is in Palm Springs, but this year it was virtual. We did a variety of presentations, but the LA region specifically presented just the work that we've done and kind of where we're at with everything, and talked about LEAP and, you know, what we were working on with alignment. And I thought it was a great session, really good feedback from people who attended. People who didn't attend were already asking for the link, like as soon as we were done that day. So I feel like it was a good experience. Yadira, Bobby, Leah, anything else you want to add about the presentation?
I actually do. I wanted to just let you guys know, we thought actually, so we presented, everybody did different ones, but we presented on, God, what did we present on?
We actually did two. We did the one on LEAP,
right,
and then on the Education Alignment Project, and that was Elvia and Doug,
right,
and Marini.
It was such a great.
It was great.
It was great. I want to let everybody know. If you know what, actually, that meeting, that one, we did have. I think we had somebody who was, you know, that was not in TPP. He was on cybernet. I think it was
cybersecurity,
who joined and was really interested in the structure that we have going on and the successes. So I gotta say, it was phenomenal. On our presentation as well, we had a couple of people join in. We didn't think we were gonna have people because we were the first session, but we actually did have a good amount of people, and I want to say that we did have a lot of turnout.
Mm-hmm. And it was great too, because Leah also did a different session on the Teach for LA conference. And she did it in partnership with Kathleen White, who ran the Teach for the Bay conference in San Francisco. And they talked about the conferences as a way for student engagement and retention. And Leah did a fantastic job on that.
Yes.
Leah, anything you want to say about that session?
I just wanted to say that that was a really fun you know, presentation, you know, with Kathleen, it's always fun, and of course. So I had to like up my performance, or I'm gonna be the dull person.
Well, Kathleen has all these research. She pops up with all this like research. I'm like,
we had videos, we had, you know, all kinds of. We showed the wheel to the audience, and they really loved that, right, Renee?
Yes, I heard about the wheel.
People were literally emailing about the wheel, going, "What is that wheel?" And
yes, there is a wheel that you can use. It's on, and you put people's names. They win prizes, right? But exactly. I just wanted to say, we heard about your meeting vicariously through. So I wanted to know more. So thank you, Leah, for sharing that. I'm interested in the retention, because, you know, if you can pass any information to me, I would really appreciate the retention.
You know, if you're interested, Rose, something that was unique this time, in the past, they didn't allow us to share. Well, I shouldn't say in the past. In the fall, when the virtual conference space was new, they did not allow us to share recordings.
Right.
This time, they not only are allowing us to share recordings, but they are posting them on YouTube, so they're public access. So if anybody's interested, we can pull those links and email them out if the team would like them for those two presentations. I mean, if you're not interested, we don't have to, but if people want to, we can.
Do we have them, Bobby? Are we? Because I think we were going to put them on our website. Did we or no?
Yeah, I would like them, especially the retention one, the one that Leah and Kathleen did, because that is an issue with all the colleges right now in the remote space. Just keeping the students, you know, engaged and active, and I'm interested in that.
Rose, and I think that's for every college. I think every one of us is or at least me speaking as faculty, you know, just the retention. And then I teach to enrollment, so it's become very tricky for me to keep them engaged. But
you have the high school, is what you're saying. The partnerships,
Well, mix with the college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That session was really interesting too, because it really talked about a lot of out of the box ways that they were getting students' attention. And to me, another thing about that session that was really good too, is it really kind of focused on, you know, with Generation Z, how do we need to be marketing things?
And Generation Z ages what? I get confused.
It's younger than me, Rose.
Yeah, but you see, we have Generation Y, we have millennials. Everybody's using these terms interchangeably.
The Gen Z,
crazy.
This is Gen Zs are absolutely different from Gen X or Gen Y Gen X and millennials, very different.
Okay, so you have something in the chat. Because, you know, we
Yes.
want to be clear on who these people are, because they are books written about, you know, how to market to these people.
Absolutely. And Kimberly, did you guys end up taping the session you had on Gen Z with that speaker?
No, we couldn't per her
Okay.
contract. So, which is
Oh.
understandable. She makes a
Yeah,
living out of
right.
talking. But I'm going to put a link to her books. She's really great. Her name's Corey C. Miller. This is kind of her wheelhouse, and her research is centered on Generation Z. And she has 3 books. I've been reading the Generation Z Learns. That's a really thin, quick read. But if you buy her thicker book, it like really delves into the specifics of her research, which is fascinating. So let me put the links to that.
And it's easy to read. It doesn't have statistics throughout the book, because that drives me crazy. I'm not interested in reading a dissertation. I want to know how things are being applied. I'm so sick of these books that just have research. But I mean, I understand you have to write that way, but what good does it do for the people who are laymen? This research can go wide and far, you know?
Yeah, well, the great thing about her, when she speaks, at least, it's very, very tailored to the non-research practitioner.
I love it.
So here, let me see. That's her Generation Z Learns. And then you can get there. This is all on Amazon, to her other books. Like, she has one about leading, Generation Z Leads. And then I haven't looked at her thicker book yet. That might be the one with all the research in it. So I'll let you know. But this one's a good one to start.
If you have Kindle, it's free.
Oh,
yeah. I have Kindle. Woo-hoo.
Oh, that's good to know. But also important to know, I mean, I know we don't have all of our contracts and stuff yet, but purchasing books that are relevant, like, you can absolutely be using funds to purchase books for yourself. You know what I mean, we tend to do everything out of pocket. So whenever something can be not out of pocket.
Well, I will put this on the list.
Excellent. And Bobby's already started putting recording links to CCC Aoe in the chat, so everybody knows. I actually coordinated 5 sessions for this conference. So there's more TPP sessions outside of the LA region. Okay.
The video is unavailable, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. Don't worry, Rose, because I've got it on my hard drive, so we can access it that way.
It's because I have it set to private right now. I can change it to public. It's not a big deal.
Okay, cool.
Kim, thank you so much for the information. I actually, for me, because I'm teaching dual enrollment, this is actually phenomenal. I'm actually gonna.
Great. I'm so glad it's helpful.
Also, if
Thank you, Kimberly.
Kim, I'm not sure how much your speaker was, but if we need it, I have a friend who is a director of equity for a high school district who specializes on this topic. And, you know, of course, ideally, it'd be great if we could pay her, but if not, we could also bring her in and ask for a favor that she come in and do a little something for us, or even maybe just a quick video for everybody on Gen Z or something.
And we can give her a little gift certificate. You know what I mean? All of us put a $5 or $2. I don't know. I mean, today I don't ask people for money, but, you know, I just think, just give us $2. It's okay. We'll put something together in an Amazon.
Totally.
Yeah, because people's families have COVID, so many kinds of things they're spending money on. So I don't really ask for money anymore.
Yeah. I totally understand.
Just be aware of that. Yeah.
But thank you. And I can talk to Marianne and see if she's available, maybe do a video or something like that for us too. So we have some more support. Quickly, just want to update everybody on the Early Childhood Education Academic Senate resolution. We're seeing movement on it right now. The plenary sessions are happening today and I believe Monday. I think they were yesterday, today, and Monday, if I remember correctly, or maybe today, tomorrow, and Monday. But there's a resolution that we've been trying to push out from the individual college level, but also at the statewide level. And basically, just the gist of it is we are trying to get recognition of EDU and early childhood under the same umbrella with a designated industry sector and with the support that goes along with it. So we're basically running this through running this through Academic Senate. So that way we can take it then to the chancellor's office and show that as a system, we want to have EDU and ECE be identified as an industry sector with the proper supports in place. And it basically, the resolution shared data showcasing that in the community college system, of the 10 highest priority sectors, early childhood is literally cranking out the top 5 of the state. And so, like, there's just some opportunities there that that we're trying to take. And so, we tried to go through the chancellor's office and advocate to be an industry sector for years. And, they just basically threw us to the side. They got rid of our monitor. They shut our program, the funding stream. And so it's like we needed to take a different route for this. So just so everybody knows, though, there's good traction. We've got people coming in and trying to get this resolution in on their campus levels in Southern California, Central California, and Northern California. So it is an intentional push through our system to try and get this moving forward. And so we'll see what happens after this weekend and in the next upcoming weeks. I believe that there's like a certain academic session or academic Senate session happening mid-April. And if we can get on that docket, it could pass now. We don't know, though. We're very close with timing wise. So there's a chance we might not get on that docket, which would then push it till fall. But one thing that's great is this is a resolution that we are not anticipating much pushback. And we just pushed an academic Senate resolution in fall in October related to early childhood and related to all the work the COP has been doing. And so it's education and teacher pathways are already on people's minds in that area. And so we're trying to move things forward. So just a FYI for everybody to know, I'm doing some good work in that area, getting some traction. And hopefully at some point we'll be an industry sector, what that will mean is if we're officially designated an industry sector, then when it comes to strong workforce funding, teacher pathways will be fully inclusive, as opposed to saying, well, with SWP funds, maybe you can work with your early childhood people because they're CTE, but your EDU people are not CTE. And so we're trying to kind of fix that and change that. So we'll see how that goes and what happens. With that, Leah, could you take it over now and go into a bit of an update on our final report? And then from there, Bobby, would you go into a quick update on the contract in Nova and just where things are?
Renee and Leah,
Yes.
before we start, I think Kim had her hand up.
Sorry about that. I didn't see.
Oh, that's okay. I did. I was just trying. I think you answered it, because it's my understanding the ECE is already designated as an industry sector, right? A CTE.
Absolutely, and has been from the start, Kimberly.
So it's not really anything that's going to change for ECE, but it would help EDU. Because
it would help EDU, and it would give ECE a tap, or it would give ECE a representative at the chancellor's office, and it would give us so it would help ECE in some ways in terms of elevation, but in terms of EDU, it then would put us into the classification of CTE and being eligible for those funds.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then Rose.
And I wanted to add that yes, ECE is CTE, but some people still refuse to acknowledge that.
Bobby, I was going to say that.
I was going to say the other argument is the EDU side, they don't want to be associated with the ECE. So this happens on the California State University level, where they're separate departments, and it's so hard to unify them because they're it's just the same with child development, the psychology side, and then the ECE. So there's just some divisions we have to be aware of when you go on to the CU level. And so sometimes the state would look at that. And then second, on the community college level, these two departments are separated, right? We do not, even though I'm chair of the business, we could have education, but education sits in behavioral social sciences, where child development used to be, but they brought us to the business because of whoever is the politics of the campus, that's how they run. So I just want you to be aware there is division even on the community campus level. So I know we're pushing to be together, but there are people who have a degree in education that should not be teaching early childhood classes.
Absolutely.
Nothing. So this merge is being fought by the ECE people because they can't come keeping crowds.
It's not a merge though, Rose. It's not a merge. Let me see if I can pull the actual resolution.
It's important for us to talk about it because I want to support it, but I don't want to displace our ECE professors.
Absolutely, and we intentionally wrote it in a way because I've been ECE and I've been EDU. And I've been told when I was EDU that I wasn't ECE enough. And when I was ECE, I was told I wasn't EDU enough. And it's like, really? I've got 2 master's degrees and 20 years experience. And somehow my kindergarten years don't count in early childhood. And that's part of it. Why can't people be both if they are both? right? But
Mhm.
also, why can't people individually give to a bigger collective? So the idea is the umbrella is the
Right.
industry sector. One strand underneath it is ECE. One strand underneath it is EDU. It's not that we're together. Wait,
Mhm.
say that wrong. I'm saying that wrong. We're together, but we're not merged.
Right.
So the
I'm
idea
gonna write
is
it
we're
down the
side
way
by
you said it.
side, elevating each other, getting
Mhm.
more resources, banding together, but being
Not right.
independently together.
Yeah.
Renee, I wanted to mention
Well
that
said.
it brings a really important topic. I just, with El Camino, we are meeting with Kelsey Dominguez this coming Friday on the 2nd. But we had a meeting with them previously, and I brought this up because I think it's going to be strategic as all of us in campuses, whoever we are meeting or we're making these meetings. And I was telling our partners, like, we should be able to bring, child development or add the education people to the same table where we're having this conversation, because if they start seeing us together, like, oh, this is the education department, they also have, we have students in education, and we are the early childhood education department, but we're both meeting here with you today because this is going to be for our students going into teaching, whatever they choose, whether it's going to be child development, whether it's going to be education, it doesn't matter, it's still within the same. So I made it a point to say that to Kelsey Dominguez, and Kelsey Dominguez was only bringing their education people. So then they said, oh, okay, no problem. We'll bring somebody from the chair from the early childhood education studies. But I think, that if we began to function this way, to think about it, like you mentioned, like we're together, right? Individuals, but we were still together. We're going to make changes. But if we continue to do this, like, oh, well, we'll just meet us child development, and not be inclusive, we're not doing it on purpose. And I totally understand that. But if we don't make that effort, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. It has to start.
To me, honestly, to me, what it feels like is like our education systems that do teacher preparation. The community college system is never going to be the CSU system, and the CSU system is never going to be the UC system. But if we're all training teachers, why aren't we working together? That's exactly what it is for ECE and EDU. And another thing too that's really important for everybody to know, TPP has been working with Tri-C ECE and Peach and OER. And so with the resolution, we've been sharing it with those groups that are really advocacy in early childhood for across the state, for those Peach and Tri-C ECE. And so we're trying to make sure that the voice moving forward is a collective voice, but where we still get to keep our specialties. You know what I mean? We don't need our ECE people to be EDU or our EDU to be ECE. We can be ourselves and sit under the umbrella of teacher preparation.
Yes.
So that's the goal.
I want to record you and I want to play it in my meeting.
Bring me to the meeting. I'll explain it.
Yeah,
or
no,
I could do something like that,
Yeah.
And I lived it. I can't even tell you what
I'm
it's
thinking,
like when you
Renee,
have
and I
people
don't
in your
know.
department say, well, your kindergarten years are not early childhood. And you're like, I spent 5 years teaching K. That's a 5-year-old body. That's in the 0 to 8 body range, So.
I was gonna say, and I just want to get the feedback from everybody, and I'm thinking maybe this is something that we think about in the future, Renee and Bobby and everybody here. You're all part of the team. We should, I don't know, should we do like a meeting with the CSUs, but then bring our EDU and ECE people to this?
You know what? Actually, that's not on the agenda for today, but on the TPP agenda, the statewide agenda for teacher prep, we're going to be talking about the Bridging Education Systems Conference in August.
Okay.
So should we put that on our LA region agenda for next month? Because it's great to have the regional impact as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
what does everybody else think?
I'm going to make a note of that right now, and then we'll make sure to include it on next month. And I believe Megan had her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just kind of going to echo that. I remember going to a guided pathways like webinar where everyone at my college before the pandemic was invited to this big room to watch it together. And just to echo the idea that this is not combining the way that it's like a turf thing. They mentioned it doesn't matter if you're in different departments. Guided pathways matters about the kinds of jobs you're preparing for and about the classes that we can find in common. And you can be in different programs. You can be in different departments. You can be CTE and transfer combined or a hybrid. And that this was kind of breaking away from the idea that you had to be in the same department for this to work, or you have to be in the same funding stream or CTE transfer for it to work. The idea was, we're not thinking in the box, we're thinking outside of the box. So when you create guided pathways, do not let these other human-made lines blur your goal in what you think of when you combine thinking and skills and other things that relate to the disciplines when you decide to combine them, because there might be a lot of overlap in the coursework. So that just kind of helps us to frame the discussion of that's the intention of guided pathways, right?
I know within one of the conference strands that we're going to run in the Teach for LA conference, there was the desire to have the like child development permit to credential. Like if you wanted, what is that transition? So we're even talking about that within our, within the conference that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So I think there's a much more to talk about in this area. I don't think there's one answer, but I think the resolution is kind of pushing things in the right direction. But we'll see what happens with it and kind of what happens in the future for sure. With that, I think we should move on to contract. Are you okay with that, Yadira? Cool.
I had my hand up because I wanted to make sure I understood. There's a conference on bridging educational something in August.
Yes, that in August, there's going to be a conference called Bridging Education Systems. We normally would have just like done it as like a FYI on this meeting, but we can have it be a topic next month so we can brainstorm it and make sure that.
And make sure we have people representing us, you know. And then there's Teach for LA conference. When is that happening so I can alert my faculty?
That we're going to get into that today, and I'm going to I have to show everything to everybody to make sure you approve it, and then hopefully starting next week you'll get it all.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so with that, let's head into the contract. And Leah, could you share with us where things are with the final report from the last funding session or series, please?
Okay, so actually, for those who actually just joined us in this new funding, we're talking about the Strong Workforce final report for the 18-19 funding. So I'm almost, the report is almost complete, and I'm just trying my best to make sure that I highlight, you know, some of the activities that you guys have done. You know, I want to be pretty equitable about doing that. And then I may reach out to some of you if I need some more detailed responses. But other than that, you know, the report is almost done, and we are in a good position to submit our regional report by March 31st, which is next week. And that's it. Thank you.
And Leah, which organization are you with? Are you with Cerritos? I mean, or?
I am Rio Hondo.
Oh, Rio Hondo, okay.
Yeah, I was the project lead for the past funding, so that's why I'm doing the final report for Strong Workforce.
Okay, thank you, Leah.
18-19.
She's being modest, Rose. She was the one who lead us in this great. This is why we have what we have.
Okay, it's better to be modest, right?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Leah. So you're in good shape with what you have. You don't need anything else from us?
I may reach out to some if I need more details, like maybe a quantifiable response. But other than that, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you for everybody who submitted the report.
Great. Thank you. Bobby, could you give us an update on the contract and NOVA and just kind of what's going on with SWP right now with the new funding, please?
Yes and no. I don't have a lot of new information. I actually wanted to ask any of you, have your colleges received your contract from Rancho Santiago yet?
Yes, we have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about mine. Marcia keeps it close to her chest, so you know, I'm wrangling with her. So just for you guys to know, it's a tough situation.
I have that same problem at my college.
Yep.
I just keep checking my board agenda, trying to see if it's gotten on there yet, but so far it's not on there.
Yeah, I actually have to ask the dean if it's already available. It was, but we were never informed about it.
Yeah.
You
So I
know,
was just,
and that's something we need to be able to voice and just say, we have to find a way to get this information because we're part of it. I wrote, contributed. I don't remember her doing anything. So, for her to keep it close to her chest isn't appropriate. You know what I mean? Even if she needs to be communicating. And it's me asking, is our grant money going around the campus like chicken licking? Has the grant come? Where is it? Because we need to go with the guidelines. And LaShawn said it the best in an email to me yesterday. He said, we have funding, we have things that will close on the college. We cannot procurement, those kind of things, purchasing due dates. So I want to make sure the money is spent before it's allocated somewhere else instead of coming to us because we didn't know. Because that's what happens. Sometimes you don't know. Then the time you have 1 week to turn things over, and that really frustrates people. So perhaps we can bring this up to meetings with the deans and just say, as soon as they get it, this is a protocol they need to follow. They need to involve their chair. They need to involve the faculty concerned at these dates so that the purchasing deadlines, we have at least 1 or 2 months to get things done, instead of last minute. I don't know, Bobby. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if we can insist on this.
I just wanted to say for Southwest, I just heard yesterday from my dean that the president signed off on the, the project. So I guess it still has to go through a couple of more layers, but at least I know that it's landed and he's aware of it.
Okay, that's great, LaShawn.
Lucky you.
okay, yeah, it's not supposed to have to go through the president again because the president's already approved
signed out. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That must just be an extra step your college decided to stick in there again.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's been a journey just to get him to have conversations with me to understand what's happening. And I guess because this region is not his project, is not his specialty, there's a disconnect. So even to the extent that his staff can't assist me with the funds. So it's been but I'm like, polite conversations because I need their help. And so we're making some strides.
Leah, I agree with you. I was about to say that when you put that on the chat, I think this is, we can bring it up on our leads meeting when we meet with the strong workforce. Although I want to just advise everybody, those meetings aren't always, I don't know, quite frankly, cordial. I mean, I go in there and I'm like, they're tough meetings and no, but I think we can mention it, like, and I think
we can mention it, Yadira, and then I think we should also email it to Audrey ahead of time so that maybe it can be an agenda item for next month.
Right. So make sure
I think so.
Yeah, Audrey is the person who's the coordinator for the region. Just
we should email her. I'll make a note of that.
There's a lot of money on the table, so everybody has come to squat on it, okay? Literally, I want a piece, but this is not what the focus should be, okay? And we have to keep reminding them this is about students, children, families, and how we can serve them better, because that's the whole idea. That's why we went after it. I wouldn't have gone after it if it was just to pay an administrator's, salary. Forget that, So I think we just need to be, like LaShawn said, polite. I tend to err on the side of, straightforward. Guys, this is about children, whatever, and everybody knows that, but it's kind of like people forget in their desperate revenues here, but this is so little. We're fighting over so little. I mean, people have billions out there, so, we got to get some perspective here, so.
Rose, I agree with you, and I appreciate what you're saying here. I once had some strong workforce funding that somebody swooped in and took.
Ooh.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. I was at a campus, and we had like a 3-year window, so I was using funds the first year, and I was pushing these other funds to the second year because we didn't have other funding then. Why would I use them when I had funding the first year? And so somebody, like I'm not even going to say who, because you guys might know, but somebody came into me at my campus and was like, "Oh, well, we're pulling that 70 grand for this other project." I said, No. Here's everything about how I was timing it out. And they basically, she took it.
Mm-hmm.
Took it.
Well, the thing is that that does happen, okay? And unfortunately, there's no due process and there are no consequences when that happens. So you need to be aware. I literally told them, take my name off the grant if this is what's going to happen. I went drama, you know. I mean, you know, I don't want my name on stuff that the Department of Justice will come and get me and I had nothing to do with it because you swooped in. I mean, those are the consequences you have to look at for your professional life, because some of these people have no ethics. They don't know how to work through other people. They just come in and do a power play, you know? And it's not, unfortunately, we suffer.
Yeah. They've got their priorities and they pretend as if they are inclusive to everybody, and they have their priorities, and that's what gets funded. So we understand that, and we're part of that really complicated game that happens in the region. Actually, to note, there are 2 compression planning sessions for our region, not teacher prep, but the overall region, that are happening in April. Those will guide the future of strong workforce. So we want to make sure that teacher prep voices are loud, because they're actually talking about possibly determining early where the investments will go. And instead of having a lot of people submit projects, having it be like intentional projects that are planned from the start. And so the idea would be that if somebody's submitting, we as a region already know that it's going to get approved. So we've got to get in on the front end so we can be part of the group that's within the plan, within the submitting and whatnot. So please know that's part of our strategy. We are trying. There's a lot of very loud voices and very big personalities in our region. And that's why the meetings are sometimes
too much.
I'm going to be honest, as somebody who's lived for years and years and years in another region, I came to LA and I've said to Yadira and Bobby and Leah on more than one occasion, like, this is crazy. This doesn't exist in other regions. And so it's fascinating to see how the region functions, because it functions very differently than some other regions.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought it up, Renee, because, you know, I thought initially maybe I was being too sensitive. My EC is coming up, like my.
Oh, it is intense. LA region, it is intense, and the personalities are big.
It's bullying. It's like, no. And then I think, again, I'm gonna bring it up, and maybe this brings us up to moving to the conference, but they view us like this and they treat us like this because we have not come together, ECE and EDU, to step up and become one. Not merging together, but more like standing with each other. And so they get to do whatever they want with us, right? They're like, oh, well, it's, you know.
It reminds me of the intro to teaching class where they're like, oh, it's an orphan class.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have something that's called an orphan class in our, like, why does that exist in our system? And also, why are we calling it orphan? I'm sorry, as a child developmentalist, we should be choosing a different name for that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a strategy when you go to war. You have to decide what you're going to focus on, because in ECE and EDU, we are known to focus on so many things. And I've told Peach, LaShawn can back me up on this, because we need to focus on the things that are less. Less is more. We choose what we have to go for. And one of the things is we got to rebrand ourselves. We're known as those people who, you know, are really upset and, you know, stepchildren, whatever. But it's just, what are we going to be known for? And they are rebranding experts. You know them. We can start pulling together as one and saying, this is the one voice. Everybody gets trained on how to stand and say what needs to be said. Because we can't be shooting off this way. We got to have the same message.
Well, that's part of the resolution, though, Rose. That's part of the resolution. If the resolution passes an academic senate, it gives us leg. It gives us in order to get there. So I think everybody's on the same page with that. We know.
And I think this brings us up to that was. Oh, Bobby, were you done with your contract update? I'm sorry. Oh, she's busy. I think it's Bobby, and then
Bobby, anything to add to the contract update or any due dates that everybody needs to be aware of?
No, I was going to say, basically, partly I was waiting to see if people had gotten their contracts yet, because basically our report's going to be, well, we're all still waiting on contracts, and those of us that have gotten contracts are now on board agendas. So it's not like anyone spent any of our money. We don't have any financial to report. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I,
So the email will be to Marcia or to people who are on as the deans or whoever. Do you have the strong workforce contract yet? Is that what I'm asking? Is that the email? What am I exactly asking?
yeah, have you gotten the strong workforce regional contract from
Yes.
Rancho Santiago Community College District?
Are they
Okay.
called participation
Preparation.
agreements?
It's
Yeah.
called participant agreement.
Right, they're called participation agreements or
Yeah, but
participant
this is
agreements.
specifically for ECE. We have other strong workforce money, and
No.
God forbid they have put our money in that pile.
No. Rancho Santiago writes one contract per college, and any of the strong workforce regional projects that that college is participating in are all listed in the same participation agreement. They just list them like individually by line. So it'll be, this one will be its own line item. It'll say how much money it is.
So they have to
You
give it
know,
to you.
they'll have, you know, whatever, auto tech, they'll have marketing, and they'll say how much money is in for the marketing regional project. But it's
Okay.
all in one contract.
Okay, see, I didn't know this, so this is
Yeah.
very good that we're covering it like this, because I would have gone and said, this is separate money, you cannot go mix it. No.
No,
It's
you have to
like-
see the contract, and then you have to make sure, you know, you find your line item to make
Mhm.
sure that they've said this much is for you.
Yeah, and the line item will say ECE, teacher prep, TTPE, you know, the way we wrote our contract. It
Right.
should be that name.
I forget the actual title, but yeah.
Yeah,
Would
okay.
you be willing to email the title out to everybody so that way
Sure.
they have the exact participant
Name.
agreement of what they should be looking for?
Yeah, and I'll put it in the chat too.
Perfect. Hey, I wanted to let everybody know we have a guest speaker that's coming in at 10:30 today. I know this conversation is really important, but I just want everybody to know timing wise, we've got somebody from UC Irvine that's going to join us at 10:30, and we need to make sure that we cover conference stuff before she starts.
Right.
Because I've been I've got all this stuff. I have to run
Yeah.
it through you guys today.
Yeah, please
Yes.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to be
No, it's necessary.
for the time today. So with that, we are going to go into TPP, any highlights, updates, or any support needed. So anything you want to share, we were going to do a showcase today, but it turned out that the campus that was going to do a showcase had to actually, they have a conflict with another presentation they had to do. So they're going to bump till next month. So we don't have a showcase for today, but any programs you want to share, any supports that are needed, anything coming up that's cool. I'll wait for a minute with silence and see if anybody wants to share with us. No pressure if you don't.
I'll
though.
share, Renee. So I think for us, we got a green light to continue. So with the previous TPP funding, we were able to fund a TPP lab. So the students, when we were in person, the students were actually coming into the actual classroom and do everything that they needed to do. From textbooks to material supplies and all of that. When the pandemic hit, we were able to move the TPP into like a virtual tutoring support for the students. So we just received a green light again, so for us to remain open, the TPP lab. So we'll continue to work with Barilli and Caroline. So they used to join some of our meetings. And I was really happy to hear that the students were actually asking for those services, for that support. So I feel that's something good that came out of this from the previous funding. It was that they did see the need for us to continue supporting the students virtually. So I was very grateful and happy to hear when I got that news this week. So.
Excellent, Myra. Just so you know too, everybody, Ventura College has a teacher prep center. They call it the T-Rec Center. And they last Friday were able to bring students back for the first time. They got to come in and the faculty were there. But they kept everybody distant. They had a very specific process and procedure. Students were allowed to come to the teacher prep center and check out supplies for the rest of the semester. So if anybody needs like protocol on a campus that has done it successfully for something like that, we can reach out to our colleagues at Ventura College, and I'm sure they would help us. So if that can be of help, let me know. If not, though, as other people start to bring students back or have these other virtual opportunities, like Myra's talking about transitioning from a face-to-face to a virtual world, it's really important to share those so we can all stay on top of it. So Myra, that's outstanding. When the day comes that we can be face-to-face, could we maybe do a visit and come check it out? And like, just that way we have like the tangibility of it, maybe take some pictures for the website, things like that.
Definitely. We also, and it was so unfortunate because we also, with one of our high schools, Montebello High School, they do have a mini daycare center within the school. So also through the TPP funding, we were able to, I want to say, upgrade their equipment and use it as a TPP lab. The only thing is that when the pandemic, we were able to deliver all the materials, the furniture and everything, when the pandemic hit, it was just like, okay, now we have to wait. So, but we were able to, and the agreement was with the school that we were going to be using that classroom as an observation classroom for our students to come and conduct observations as well. But definitely, once we're back, we'll be happy to open those the spaces and share everything with you.
Excellent, excellent. I love that you were kind of out of the box there thinking about that with your placements with your students. I absolutely have done that before with practicum classrooms and with other fieldwork classrooms. And you want to make sure it's tricky because it's like this fine line where you're like, we're not giving it to the district. It's like they're borrowing it while our students are there, even though it really lives there, you know? So I love it that you have this model because it gives other people an opportunity to take that kind of model too. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Myra, for that share. Appreciate it. Anyone else who'd like to share? I thought I heard Michael also just possibly was that Mike saying he was going to share a little bit before?
Yeah, that's me. That's
Okay,
me.
awesome.
I was searching for another email, but I was talking to our child development department and regarding our second annual hosting our second annual I Can Teach fair. And I know I brought this up last session that we met. So it sounds like we're looking at the first week of May. Well, and I was just thinking that it could be about an hour, maybe no more than an hour and a half, and have some presenters talk, and maybe a university a credential office at the UC, as well as the Cal State, someone to speak. But I'll let everybody know if I need some leads, some support, and maybe a speaker or two. So I'll let you know during our next meeting or via email. So that's just the update so far.
Wonderful. Let us know how we can support. The LA Region Conference is going to be the same week, so maybe there's a way we can kind of tag team some stuff for the students or kind of maximize it all. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even like maybe co-market or let's talk some more, Mike, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Great. Yes. Excellent. I love spring because there's so many resources for our students and they're like hungry for stuff right now. So this is fantastic. Great. Any other campuses that would like to share?
I can share. So Rio Hondo also had the same, our dean actually allowed us to use a little space to, so we can create like sort of a teacher center. So I'm really excited. So hopefully Myra, you can share the protocols with us if you can. And also, I don't know if I shared with this group already that we actually did receive a seed grant from the U.S. Department of Education, which is in partnership with El Camino and also Cerritos College. And it is to build a community-based teacher pipeline that strengthens the teaching profession by increasing the number of teachers of color. So we, at Rio Hondo, we're trying to recruit 100 students. Same thing with El Camino and Cerritos, of course. We're trying to recruit 100 students in our mentoring program and also like 50 mentors for our program. So a lot of our time is actually dedicated to that. And even though it's not directly related to strong workforce, it does, it does help our strong workforce objectives. And that's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Leah. Any other campuses that would like to share?
I just wanted clarification from Leah. It's a community what? Towards increasing the teachers?
Oh, it's a community-based teacher pipeline.
Okay, teacher pipeline. I like that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Rose.
So you might hear that project referred to as CPTP, Community Partnerships for Teacher. Is it for Teacher Pipeline? Is that the right? I'm not sure if I'm saying the acronym right.
Yeah, Community Partnerships for Teacher Pipeline, CPTP.
CPTP. Okay, wonderful. so many acronyms. That's why I have to clarify. I get dyslexic.
There's so many, and the group that Leah and them are working with, they are so acronym heavy, you can't even imagine. So yeah, excellent, thank you. Any other groups that would like to share, or any other colleges that would like to share? Okay, then let's move on. If at any point someone has something they'd like to share, this is an inclusive meeting and we encourage you to share. So I'm excited for Teach for LA because this is why I can't sleep right now. So I want to show you what we've got going on. And I'm like, where do I even start? Because there's quite a few different things. So actually, let me start with this. Hold on one second. I'm just going to clean up my desktop wait a second. I apologize, everybody. I had this all planned and some reason. Oh, that's what it is. I apologize. I had this all set up and ready to show. And for some reason, all these other windows open on my computer. Oh, before everybody logged on, I was trying to do a poll. That's why. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I can share screen. So here's what we've got, everybody. I have put together with Leah's support and with all of your guidance, actually. I literally took what was on our Los Angeles Education Alignment Project for suggestions for workshops. And then I took Leah, when she did the last Teach for LA conference, within her surveys, she has data on what topics do you want for future conferences and what other information do people need, and how can we improve the workshops and whatnot. And so I took all of the feedback and topics that people suggested and I put them together into a conference. So here's what we've got. This is and I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm praying it's going to work well. I don't know, so we'll see. But in the past, I thought it was fascinating when we did it where we had individual links for each one of the workshop sessions. And it was really interesting because I thought that's what we would do this time. But then one of the suggestions from both Teach for the Bay and Teach for LA was to change it into a one registration link as opposed to multi-registration links. And so that's what I'm doing. So here's what's going to happen with the Teach for LA conference. We've got our conference coming up the first week of May. This is the Eventbrite invitation that I'm praying is going to start going out on Monday next week, maybe Tuesday at the very latest. But we have it all ready for you. Don't worry about getting this content. I will send this to everybody and you'll have the content afterwards. But it's basically saying we've got a free week-long conference if you are interested. If you're involved in teacher preparation, or you're a future teacher, or you're a high school or college student who's thinking about being a teacher, if you're a current teacher, current faculty, this is for you. The way we're structuring the conference, it's going to be 1 week long. It's going to be the week that we normally do Teacher Appreciation Week. So it's the first week of May, from May 3rd to May 7th. Now, once we release this, it will be a free registration. Anybody who wants to can register on Eventbrite. I put it for up to 2,000 tickets, and we're going to have our tickets available up until the Friday before the conference. What will happen is once somebody registers, we'll have their information, and then by mid-April, I'm going to send them a grid of all the workshops and the days and the times that the workshops are. And then instead of sending them the Zoom links ahead of time, far ahead of time, it's going to be like the week of the conference, Monday through Friday. Sunday, I send the Zoom links for all the sessions for Monday. Monday, I send the Zoom links for all the sessions for Tuesday. Tuesday, I send them, so you see what I'm doing? And then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are student focused. Cinco de Mayo, Wednesday, is all faculty focused. Now, if our students want to attend the stuff that's on Wednesday, they're more than welcome to, but they're going to be workshops that are made for faculty. So the idea is, and it's faculty and teacher preparation leads. So the idea is our students are getting up their PD, and we're going to get some in the middle as well. Okay, so with that, here are some of the topics that have come up. And I tried to, originally I had them like, at first it was like, how to be an elementary school teacher, how to be a preschool teacher, how to be a special ed teacher, how to be junior. I'm like, nobody's going to want the first 5 things saying that. So I switched it a little bit. Substitute teaching, is it for me? Anti-bias education. We know people want social justice issues in the conference, so we're going to embed them from the beginning. Anti-bias education, how to become an elementary school teacher, classroom management, teaching junior high and high school, social justice in the classroom, teaching preschool, TK, and kindergarten, pathways to careers in early care. How many of us have had that student that came up and said, I'm not sure if I want to be a preschool or kindergarten teacher. And you're like, they're two different pathways. Like, hold up, you got to decide, so we want them to understand the flexibility and the opportunities within early care. Anyways, I have some other sessions listed there. These are only a sample of what will be offered, okay? So, oh, and then Leah made a great flyer. Let me show everybody that as well. And then I want to show you the full grid of what it's really going to look like. Get ready, take a breath before we go into the grid. I can promise everybody that it's a little bit, okay? Okay, let me get this open and show everybody. Okay, first of all, Leah Martinez, a graphic designer, man.
Seriously, Leah. Okay,
Leah,
she's gonna do a workshop on how to design your flyers.
That should be on the PD for faculty and admin.
This is the old one, Renee.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Leah.
It's all right.
I was debating.
Well, they can pick between this one or the other one. Yeah.
Well, and we're doing some changes.
But this one is so cute. I don't know. I like this one a lot. It has the heart and all the teachers.
So Yadira doesn't have to get a ton of emails. And then the registration will be posted. Instead of saying that, we're going to have the registration link right there.
Okay,
so, sorry,
perfect.
Pulling
Perfect.
This one and
then even a QRS code so they can put their phone, because we know we're dealing with generation, whatever this was.
Yeah.
They like that, and they can just register on their phone or,
That's a great idea, Rose. Leah, are you able to do a QR code?
I think, Bobby, you know how to do them, right?
QR code, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Bobby is saying
it's easy.
You
can Google it. It's very
easy. Just Google it,
Bobby.
Everybody uses at restaurants when you had to wait to get your food, because we couldn't go in. You do the QRS code. Yeah.
Okay, now everybody take a breath before my next share. Okay, collective breath. Okay, so and remember, this is coming from all the feedback we have. So this is not me like, okay. So and there's a reason why things are kind of empty at the top right now. First of all, I think we should have specific time blocks. I think our sessions should be 1 to 1.5 hours, so people have flexibility, but there's certain times of the day we should have them. And so I did from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Okay. As you can see, each day I'm trying to do something like thematic. So the first day, I think we should host a movie that's related to education. Let me rewind for a second. In addition to the content that our students are going to experience and our faculty and staff are going to experience, something I've been working on for a while now is this concept of how do we humanize the virtual learning space. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to do things that are developmentally going to reach certain people. And so in addition to having content, this is about community. And so there's certain things that are more community, like I think we should do a movie. I think we should have a movie that we play and maybe have a discussion about it. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, I thought it'd be kind of funny. It's May 4th. We could do something with Star Wars and May the 4th be with you. Maybe it's one comment of the day. It doesn't have to be something, right? Wednesday, faculty day. It's also Cinco de Mayo. Let's celebrate and do something kind of fun with the day. Thursday, I have no theme at this point. And then Friday's the wrap up. So, and then what I did was, and Rose, I saw your hand. I will come to you in just a moment. I just want to make sure I explain it first. And then I'll come to all questions, clarification, whatnot. I tried to color code this. So, because there's certain things that we need to have, certain trends we need to have every day. Every day we need something on pathways. And that's how do I become an elementary teacher, junior high teacher, special ed teacher, child development, those are that. Gen Z is more like your social justice topics. It's about culturally relevant communication in the classroom. It's about anti-bias education. It's about anti-racism education. It's about, social emotional learning. It's outside of like the academic content, and it's like the what else is imperative for future teachers to know about. In addition to that, we want to absolutely have some sessions on just practical strategies in the classroom, like classroom management. How do you build your classroom? Like that's what our students want to know. That's in my experience. They want that. If I'm working with a child with ADHD, what do I do for strategies? That's the kind of stuff they need to know. In addition, I also wanted to make sure that we were covering special education. And so while special education is black on my like code down here, it really is bolded on the graphic here. So for instance, how to become a special education teacher, that's pathway and special ed. So it's green bold because it's both, okay? How do I become a special education paraeducator? That is also special ed and pathways. Down here, how to help kids with anger management, that's often special education to have that kind of training, because you might get into somebody who's emotionally disturbed, or I'm sorry, I'm not saying the right classification right now, but anyways. And then we also, another thing that was very, very clear from what Leah learned is that panels are what they want. And so I don't know how realistic it is to do as many panels as I'm projecting here, but my thought was a community college student panel, credential panel, maybe a faculty panel, new teacher panel, student panel. Now here's what this becomes though. Now, all these topics are what we got from our work in LEAP and from the last conference. So I didn't make these up. These are literally from these two lists that were compiled. And so what I'm hoping to do then is to send this out to all of us and say, which one are you available to do? Or which two are you available to do? And then so for instance, maybe Michael is like, oh, I really want to do something. Like Pierce wants to do something on strategies and student engagement. So then he's going to say, Renee, we're going to take strategies for student engagement. You wanted it on Thursday, but my people aren't ready on Thursday. We need to go on Wednesday, or we need to go on Tuesday. And so I just have these kind of sitting here as a sample. It's not where they will end up, but most likely these are the topics that we will be using, hopefully, and then building the conference from it. So at the start of next week, I will send this out with a form saying, where can you help? And let us know. And who are you going to be partnering with? Is it you and, you know, two people from your campus? Are you going to be working with Cal State Long Beach or one of your CSU partners, one of your TK through 12 partners, an early care partner? I mean, we want our students to have access to not just us, but to the other programs and resources and support that are in LA. So it's great when it's you and your campus, but it's also fantastic if you bring in one or two more people. So I know there's questions. I want to make sure I pause right now. Rose, why don't you start first with your question? We can see what else everybody else wants to kind of talk about in relation to this.
Okay, two things. I participated in the early math from Stanford and UCLA this year. So they have a beautiful resource, and I'd love to share it with not only faculty, but also students.
Rose,
so,
that would be like a Wednesday one then? So it would be like faculty intended, but student invited as well?
Yes, it could be, because the students need to see the resource. And it's a beautiful resource. It talks about the different areas of math and how children process math. Usually we're just counting, but it shows how to use early literacy with math so that, you know, they get the book. In a book, there's one book they showed us called Jabari Jumps, and we were looking at the position. So they're learning spatial from the book, just looking at the picture. So there's a lot of information. I'd love to share it. I have two colleagues I presented with, so they will probably present with me, you know, because we're a team. So
I think that's wonderful, Rose. So that, and right now it's sitting on Wednesday since we know it's faculty focused, but if it needs to be some other time, you just let me know, okay?
Okay, one more thing. When we're thinking about the film and these other things that we can do, I was thinking that it's so much fun. Like we used to, when we have physical conferences, they walk around the vendor booths and they get to do some activities. So maybe we can have a time when they can go around the vendors, maybe an hour when it's lunchtime, and they can visit the vendors on Zoom. Each of them have a time when they can show their wares and one fun activity to do, because that's what the students really appreciated when they came for our physical conferences. They wanted to do those, you know, the drum tapping. There's a guy who does a tambourine, you know, drummer. He's a drummer, and maybe he can come and do an entertainment piece and, you know, something. I don't know how much these people cost, but, you know, that's what makes a conference fun.
Yeah, the one thing though is we don't have a huge amount of funding for this. So like, for instance, I was looking at different platforms that we could use, and I found that like a really great platform, it would cost us $4,000 to $7,000 to use it for one day, yet alone 5. So
I was thinking virtual.
No, it's a virtual platform that lets you network.
I see.
They're really expensive. So we are going to have a networking session, and I was going to do it similar to how Leah did it in fall, because it seemed to be really effective, where it was a networking session and there were breakout rooms with representative from different groups. And then students could they could go in there and they could talk to the people from CSU Fullerton for a while. And then so I have to talk to Leah a little bit more, flush it out about how we can kind of maximize that. But I love the idea of networking. And once we go face-to-face, Rose, we absolutely will have a ton of vendors and stuff. This time, it's not going to be so much vendors as more like partners. So it's more like our CSUs and our K-12s and those groups that we're working with will be there. But if you have any connections to Lakeshore or, any of the vendor kind of groups, we can absolutely include them as well.
I'll get some lists for you so you can get, from past conferences we've done, and we can see how they fit in. They may want to come and do a little breakout room in an area where they can show some fun thing they're doing. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anyone else have any comments or suggestions?
I have a contact through a professional organization called Q. Q does an annual conference in spring. I let him know when we started this discussion that we're going to do a virtual conference, and that you're not paid, because he does keynotes and all that as a paid speaker too. But he has a lot of different topics that he can talk about. He was a Japanese language instructor. He was an administrator, principal. He's now an author, and he's being a guest speaker in my classes on Monday. And I, know he's interested to kind of work with community college faculty, and students, and just represent maybe the Q organization, which has free membership. I don't know if you know that, but the Q is a free, it used to be called Computer Using Educators. And they have a lot of K-12 folks that go to their conference, but I'm part of the Higher Education Learning Network kind of subgroup. And, we want students to know more about ed tech and be involved. And it's free membership. So he could talk about Q, he could talk about being an author and his journey. There's so many different things. And he has this wonderful nonprofit where they use stories and pictures and videos to teach. And he's all about fun and engagement. Anyhow, he may be interested, because I've let him know that this was coming, to do a topic. Do I tell him that he needs to fit it into one of these themes the best he can?
No, but what if he does strategies for student engagement?
Yeah, that sounds a lot like what he does.
Sounds like what he does, right? So if we could just kind of classify him as in that and see what he said.
Do I wait for your email and then share it with him and then see what days and times he's free?
Yeah, I would, if you're okay with that, because it'll just be the start of next week.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Oh, great. And Kimberly has already put in the Q conference into the chat.
I'm not sure if I have the right one, actually. I'm looking at it right now. Let me double check this. Springs. Yeah, I think this is like a virtual one in May 2nd, but I just realized a community for positive employment.
This is not the same one, but they do spring Q, and they have a smaller regional fall Q. And the spring one's usually in person in Palm Springs, and it's lovely. But right now, my colleagues, I think, are already went to the virtual one.
Is it Computer Using Educators still, though?
No, they don't call it Computer Using Educators anymore, but it kept the name Q.
Okay, I'm going to find a link. I'll put it in.
I put a link in the chat. I think that's it.
That is the correct one.
Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, I realized. Okay. That was me moving too fast on Google.
No worries. Thanks. Yeah, but they're great. And with free membership and really a huge focus on the K-12 and stuff, it's fantastic.
All my friends in TK through 12 who are at district offices are involved in Q. So it really is like leadership in the TK through 12 space. And so I think it's really smart and strategic to bring them in. That's exactly the kind of access we want our students to have.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, here's something that put on your radar now and get involved, So I think that's great.
When it's in person, if you volunteer, you get in for free. You just have to cover your hotel. So it's kind of
nice. Just so everybody knows too, our 10:30 speaker is here. I just shot her a quick message in her weight room saying we'll let you in just a minute or so. So she's a little early. But let's go ahead and talk for a few more minutes about this. Does this look okay to everybody? Like the direction?
Thank you. It's fantastic.
Yes, it's a beginning, and we know that there's more workshops to come, but do you want us to send the bio? I just want to make sure I get things in.
Do not do anything until I send you the list of what I need.
Okay, all right.
So,
Good
yeah.
to know,
Yeah.
you know, because sometimes, you know, we need to know how to operate.
And I will send it at the start of next week, just so everybody knows too. Bobby and Yadira and some on the line know this, but I'm a little behind with life right now and with work because my mom is very ill. So my 86-year-old mom had a spill last month. Sorry. And then she had another one last week. So really bad. So anyways, I'm excited for our conference. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late with stuff, but I promise you it's going to be kick-ass. I promise.
Yeah. But Renee, I just want you to know that I can support you, okay? So just let me know what work you want me to do. I'll help you. You don't need to do everything. So if I can do that part for you, I will help you. Okay.
Well,
I will do it on the weekend or nighttime.
I appreciate it so much, Rose. One of the biggest things I think we'll need support with is the student panels. Like we're going to be so much on the behind the scenes of all the logistics. Like, you know, Yadira, I'm like, Yadira, you cannot do session. Like you can't do that because you're running it with me. Like so
I can help with that if I know what I'm doing. And I have my 2 student workers that can jump in. They always want something to do. So I'll drag them with me and say, hey, you get to come to a conference free, come work, you know.
Perfect. And that's what we've always done in the past. Also, one other thing to point out, I want to share with everybody, we're doing something different this time. I'm really excited about it. We're having a keynote at the start of the conference and we're having a keynote at the end of the conference. And so I'm very happy to say that Megan Kaplinski will be our keynote on Monday.
Yay, Megan.
And Yadira will be our keynote on Friday.
Yeah, I'm so honored to be asked, but I have to tell you, I am thinking big about representation. And I asked my husband actually to ask his colleague if she's interested because she's amazing. And I just haven't told you that yet, Renee, because
Totally. I'm sorry I announced it, Megan, without us talking.
No, it's okay. It's because I'm processing things a little different. So my side note is, although I haven't started doing that kind of thing, I always, and especially with my husband's business, which he has a diversity thing where he will not speak at a conference or do a paid gig unless it's half women in mass, half this group, half that group. So he's helped me to be very aware of making sure it's not only a lot of white females. And so I'm very conscious about that right now as he's just redone his contract to ensure sexuality and gender identity are represented at conferences, and he refuses paid work if it's not balanced, so that's a really big thing. So we were thinking very briefly this morning, Renee, because I was lifting some weights, not a lot, like 5 pounds. When you called and I was tired. But anyway, I was just having that thought go through my mind. And so I will continue and keep you posted.
Excellent. And I appreciate your attention to detail with that, Megan, because I'm going to be honest, Department of Ed sent me a flyer this week on the Equity Leaders series, and there were 3 men on it. And I wrote back to CDE instantly and was like, hey, where are the ladies? And fortunately, I have a good relationship with that person at CDE. She wrote back immediately, was like, Renee, you are so right. She goes, we released this flyer before we had the women confirmed. And so once they put it up on Facebook later that day, 3 men, 3 women. So we've got to be, and people of color, and, you know, so we've absolutely have to think about that. Megan, as you explore that more with your husband and his company, would you share what's appropriate with the rest of us? Because we want to make sure that we're having an equity mind with all we do.
Right. Yes, I think he just posted about it on his social media, and I can probably get a copy of it. But he also has a lot of information in his Facebook group for Ed Consultant Lab, and they have that conversation going. So yeah.
Excellent.
Renee,
Excellent.
with that in mind, and I'm just gonna add this. I was thinking about it. I was gonna say it off, but for the Cinco de Mayo, if we can just you know, it is Cinco de Mayo, but it's not just all celebration. It's there's a purpose for Cinco de Mayo. It was a war between Puebla, and so every time it gets mentioned, I'm super for it. But I also want to know that that maybe we you know, we say this is the meaning for Cinco de Mayo and we're acknowledging it and celebrating it. But just in that sense, just because it is Cinco de Mayo, but I think people misrepresent it, like, oh, it's Cinco de Mayo, here, let's drinking. And yes, you can celebrate it, but it's more of a celebration of a war. And I just wanted to put it out there just so everybody knows. That's just, if we just say, yeah, we're celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but this is why we're celebrating it.
I think that's a great idea, Yadira, and I think it's just, we need to be responsive like that. And for me, honestly, Cinco de Mayo, it was more like, this is going to sound bad, but it was more like, I was like, oh, I want the faculty day in the middle of the week. Oh, it's Cinco de Mayo.
That's no.
But then afterwards, I was like, oh, well, maybe we should put on the Star Wars Day in case we didn't want to approach Cinco de Mayo. Or
no, I think let's approach it, but I just do think that let's this is maybe I'll come up with something. I'll look it up in a short little. This is Cinco de Mayo, and this is why we celebrate it. But let's celebrate it. You know what I mean?
I think that's great. I mean, to me, it also goes along with anti-bias education, right. And also it could even say we're modeling this for our students,
right?
Right? Because they go, oh, Cinco de Mayo, let's grab some mariachis, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, unless you can grab some mariachis, right. Let's have the origin. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, is everybody cool now if I let Chelsea in from Irvine?
Please do, okay, before she's like, okay,
I know she's been waiting there for a while. So, well, I'm excited about the conference, and it's going to be really good. And I really think we're going to be able to reach a lot of students. And so, anyways, everything will be coming out starting next week. So let's go ahead, and I've officially let her in, and I'm excited. Get ready for what Chelsea's going to share with us. She's coming in from UC Irvine, and some really cool opportunities for our students if they choose to continue on the teacher pathway. So I think, oh, she's here. Excellent. Chelsea, thank you so much for being here. Sorry that it was a few minutes in between, but I appreciate your patience. We're planning a big Los Angeles region conference, and so we had to touch base about all that. But I will hand the mic over to Chelsea, and on the agenda, I included Chelsea's email. So if you'd like to get in touch with her after, you have it on the agenda. If anybody needs it though, just let me know. And Chelsea's coming from UC Irvine, but I will go ahead and have her introduce herself and tell us all about this exciting opportunity and this program that she has going on right now. So Chelsea, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Renee, for having me. Quick question, am I allowed to share my screen? Oh, okay, I do have that function, I see. Okay, great. So hello, everyone. My name is Chelsea Barilli, and I'm the Student Services Coordinator for the CalTeach program at UC Irvine. So for those of you, well, I won't get into it. I'll just go ahead with my presentation because we'll go into that. So,
Chelsea, I just made you co-host too in case there's any tech issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Can everyone see? I think so. Okay, so like I said, I'm from UC Irvine, the CalTeach program, and kind of what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about today is our Transfer to Teaching Noyce grant. And so a little bit about the CalTeach program is we are a 4-year bachelor's plus credential program. So students that are STEM majors have the ability to also complete their teaching credential while in their undergraduate studies. So it's a very unique program. It's offered at all the UCs, but us in Berkeley are the only ones that have the full length credential that you can actually get. The other programs only have the introductory courses. And so anyways, and we're very, so our mission is to recruit, support, and prepare diverse math and science majors to become equity focused secondary teachers who are change agents in underserved schools. And so, as I mentioned, we are specific to the STEM disciplines, and specifically 5 majors are allowed to pursue this option. So that would be biology, mathematics, chemistry, physics, and earth system science. This is just a little bit, this is kind of a little bit more detail about our program for those of you that aren't familiar with it. This is kind of the structure of it. So in their first 2 years at UC Irvine, students would take our first 2 introductory courses. So that's PS5 and PS105. They're both very introductory. The first one is introductory to elementary math and science. And then the second course is kind of an add-on from that, and students will actually be in a middle school classroom. There is fieldwork tied to both classes, but like I said, it's very introductory level. We're just kind of introducing STEM students to this opportunity. And then from those 2 courses, if they, are interested and want to continue on, then they would formally declare the program and actually start in their junior year with Ed 55, and then continuing on. You'll see there's about 7 courses that we have here. So the layout is they would take an education or credential course every quarter until they graduate. And then the student teaching component takes place in their senior year. It takes place the last 2 quarters. So winter quarter and spring quarter, they would do their student teaching. And this is just the credential courses, right? So this does not include the courses that are specific to their major. They're going to also be taking those courses alongside. And that's how we're able to kind of have students complete this program in 4 years, because they're doing their major courses alongside these education courses. So it's definitely very rigorous, a lot of field work tied to it. Kind of one of the big pieces of this is we like to present this opportunity to students early so that we can make sure that their schedule aligns to be able to fit it in the 4 years. Because that's something that we really kind of are trying to do for our students is we want to get them out into a school district and teaching right away. We don't want them to be at the university more than they need to, because then if they were just going to spend 5 years, they might as well go into a post-bac program. So kind of, again, so going into where this all comes about is the Noyce grant that we were just awarded. And so this kind of gives you an overview of the grant. So the grant is aimed at working with our community college partners. So that's kind of where this comes into play. It's a grant that's specific for transfer students to help them into this pipeline and support their journey. So we have, I'm going to go into details about the different aspects of it, but it's very focused on recruiting community college students into this pathway to kind of diversify and expand our outreach efforts. So here is the Transfer to Teaching program. So it includes 3 primary components that are designed to accelerate the pathway from community college to a teaching credential while increasing retention and support for STEM teachers in high need schools. So like I said, there's 3 components to it that we're going to go into more detail. The first one is cross enrollment. So those 2 introductory courses that I talked about, PS5 and 105, our goal is to expand our outreach. We want community college students to cross enroll in these classes, because what that does them up for transfer to UC Irvine into the CalTeach program, and where when they transfer, assuming everything's aligned, they'll just spend 2 years at UC Irvine. So they'll, we get them enrolled in these 2 classes, cross enrolled while they're at the community college. And then once they transfer, they just have to finish off the remaining credential courses and then the remaining major coursework. And these 2 courses, like I said, are very introductory level, and it's kind of in prime time right now because everything's remote. We're offering these courses fully online. So students do not need to be in Irvine to take these classes. You can take these classes virtually. Right now, we're even talking about expanding this, even when we go back into school, offering a component that's specific for community college students, especially ones that are in the LA region where it's not feasible for them to come to Irvine to take a course. So that's definitely something that we're trying to do, because like I said, we're trying to expand our outreach to the LA region area and just other students that might be interested in this opportunity, but don't necessarily live in Orange County. So there is eligibility requirements for cross enrollment. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but they do have to meet these criteria in order to cross enroll in the classes. But both these classes are offered every quarter for us. So students have the ability to take it in fall, winter, or spring. And I know that kind of is different than some of the community colleges where you just have the 2 semesters. One thing that we found is that the winter quarter works out really well for students because it's kind of in between the fall and spring semesters for community college students. The other thing about cross enrollment and this grant specifically is we pay for all the cross enrollment fees. So that's another kind of thing to help get students interested in this opportunity is it's at no cost to them. So if they're interested in teaching, they want to pursue this, All they have to do is sign up for it and be eligible.
Chelsea, I have a quick question. Are your semesters, or excuse me, are your quarters 10 weeks or 12, or how long are they?
10 weeks, yeah.
I love the quarter system. I don't know if any of our colleges run on quarter. I think
yes, we do 8 weeks. We do 8 weeks, first session, second session in both fall and spring. And we also do 5 weeks in winter, and then 2 5-week sessions in summer. And yeah, in summer 1, summer 2. That's mostly for LA CCD, but you know, sometimes the colleges differ if they have culinary arts. Sometimes it's not a 5-week during the summer, it's an 8-week. So it depends, you know, whether we have a lot of CTE. My quick question was the PS5 and PS 105, they are enrolling while they're still with us, and they still do the 50 hours of field work at a high school, and that is organized by you, or we get into that?
Good question. So as I said, so I guess right now it doesn't really count. We'll talk about for fall. So we would manage all the fieldwork placements. We've had that have cross-enrolled in the past that are from LA, and we're able to set them up. We have some community college partner, or we have some school district partners in the LA region, but also we are, you know, happy to facilitate that. Going back to a comment you made, they will actually not in high school yet. They get into the high school setting until their junior year, so until they transfer to UC Irvine. These 2 introductory courses are actually, the first one's a placement in an elementary school, and the second one's a placement in the middle school. But yeah, all that to say is we kind of do all of that. We don't expect you guys to kind of set them up in a school and facilitate all that. The only thing we kind of do need some assistance with is 1, recruitment, getting the word out, and then number 2, you know, helping facilitate potentially the, because they have to get certified for eligibility through the registrar's office, and that has to happen at the home campus. So that's something that the student needs to do, but you know, any way that you can help with that. But yeah, we do all the placements and everything like that.
So you're not doing the registration. We're going to do the registration on our campuses. That you're going to send us the application and the flyer so we can start promoting these in you know, at our schools, right?
Yeah. So definitely the recruitment piece. I can assist with the enrollment. I can send the students the forms and assist them in all of that. Basically, the only thing that the student needs to do on their end in terms of how it relates to the community college campus is get the certification from the registrar's office.
The certification,
the
certification that they've paid registration fees and they have a GPA of 2, that's what they, you know, and enrolled in 6 units. That's what the registrar will have to check off and sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you are aware.
Sorry.
You are aware that we are in COVID still, so we may not be back in the fall. So if you want this to start in the fall, we have to keep in mind that some campuses may not be allowed to come back. So everything is virtual, and some of these things are taking longer than sooner. So
Chelsea, are you guys planning to stay virtual with fieldwork? I sent an email to Marquita. Oh wait, no, sorry, Marquita CSU. I haven't talked to the UC leads. The CSU leads were talking about how CTC has the flexibilities on the agenda for April to extend the flexibilities from, I think the original date was August to the end of the year. So are you planning to stay in the virtual space in fall? Do you know at this point?
Are we talking about for the field work for these introductory courses or for like student teaching?
I'd say for courses and for field work, but not student teaching.
Yeah, so we have not gotten word on that either. As it sits right now, we are fully on. So those introductory courses, and actually I think our elementary students, the ones in the PS5, are not doing field work. So our middle school, we've been able to set them up with some classes to observe virtually, but the elementary didn't really make sense for us. And I don't think the partners that we've worked with, they didn't really want kind of our students virtually in the space. It just kind of was too complicated. So I have no idea what the fall is going to look like, whether it's a virtual, we will probably have field work, but whether that field work is virtual or in person, I think completely depends on the district and what they can allow and what they want.
Okay, did you guys just stick with the flexibilities then in order for them to get that fieldwork credit? Because like the flexibilities from CTC, right? Okay, great.
Yeah, definitely. And like, they're still making lesson plans and they're still doing that component of it, but it's just, they're not, and this is really just the PS5, our first class. But yeah, there's just no way for us to get those hours to the students. And especially our PS5 classes, it's usually a lot of students. And so like usually when we were in person, we'd have 5 students going to a fieldwork site at a time. Well, being able to coordinate all of that virtually was a different kind of level. So
it's impossible. Most of us who are on right now have taught the fieldwork class or are the chair of the fieldwork class. So everybody, we all know, like we understand. And we're grateful that the flexibilities were put in place and we're excited that they're going to extend them. Actually, part of our team helped with the early childhood flexibilities with CTC. We were part of the group that helped to push that forward. So yeah, you know, just whatever we need to keep training teachers, even in the virtual space, right?
Yeah, it's been a weird year, that's for sure. But we've also kind of, the interesting, I'm sure you guys have found this as well, is like, we feel like our students are more prepared to have gone through this. It's like, okay, well, yeah, they, you know, the experience is different, but now they can understand what it's like to have to adjust and, you know, change from in-person to virtual. So it's kind of a blessing in some ways.
It's a good way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Find the positive in it for sure.
Yes. Okay, so good on cross enrollment. The next kind of component of the Noyce grant is the Summer Research Institute. So this would be, this is kind of an opportunity for students, like I said, that have completed the cross enrollment, so enrolled in the 2 courses and do plan to transfer to UC Irvine to complete the program. They will engage in this Summer Research Institute, which really just exposes them to research at a R1 research institution. And especially it's tailored towards how they can apply the research to their teaching. So very teaching focused, but giving students that kind of hands-on research experience as well. So this would take place the summer before they start at UC Irvine. Again, all of this is funded by the grant, so it's at no cost to the student. It's a week-long kind of experience that just fully immerses them in the program. The PI on this grant is the one that is instructing this research institute. And she's done it before, so it's kind of a model program. And then the last final component, but arguably the best component of the Noyce grant, is the Noyce scholarships. So this funds students fully for 2 years. So if students do decide to pursue this program, like I said, have cross-enrolled in the 2 classes, have taken the Summer Research Institute, they will be fully funded for 2 years of tuition at UC Irvine through this grant. There are some eligibility requirements, as you can see below, but it's a really great opportunity for them to get up to $15,000 for up to 2 years to kind of, like I said, complete the CalTEACH program and get their credential.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, so it's an awesome opportunity, and most of the money that's in this grant supports this. So this is the big kind of component of the grant. We have the money for the cross enrollment and stuff like that, but really this is the bulk of the expenses. So it's—
How long is this grant also, just to know? Is it 5 years?
It's a 5-year grant. So right now we are in year 1 of it. So we have 4 more years arguably for it.
Great.
And I believe it can fully fund up to 25 students. But for purposes of like the way that financial aid works, and someone, you know, need the full amount, then we can use that in a student. So really, we could potentially fund more than that, but fully fund about 25 students.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of the gist. Is there any questions about all? No, that was a lot of information.
we can email you and you can send us that information, because I really would like to pass the brochure along and just say, see me, so I can give them the details. Maybe I'm going to do a Zoom call for people who are interested. Once I get them enrolled, get their name and email. I can say, okay, Friday, we're going to talk about this. And then I'll share the brochure and then we'll go through the application process or whatever. But if I can invite you just to help me out, that would be good. If you can't, I'll just push the information to you. Because
Yeah,
I think this is a
absolutely.
good opportunity for the students. We have chem students, we have, this is very doable,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Michael.
And Renee, I was actually going to ask you, like, should I send it to you to disperse out? Because we actually have a flyer too, that you can send out if you have listservs or, post it on campus when we do go back in. But I do have some materials, and I can also send the cross enrollment form if that's helpful to kind of get that
Yes.
process started, and just show you what that looks like. So I can send all that. So Renee, does that make sense to send to you afterwards and you can disperse out?
Absolutely. And just so everybody knows, we've also invited Chelsea and her team to have time at the Teach for LA conference at the start of May. So we're hoping they can host a session or two to, get more of our students to be able to interface directly with UCI, because we want them to know their people as soon as possible so they feel comfortable and get on the pathway. So Rose will have the information there as well. And Chelsea, we're here to support and help get the word out. We've got a lot of listservs and we're happy to spread the word. Okay, so however you want to package it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have any sort of like a link to a video describing, or if we could maybe even share the PowerPoint as like a PDF, or the more that we can front load information on this, the better. And just send me however you want it to be. And then I can send it out to the listservs. And then I can also talk to the people who run our communities of practice listservs, and we can send it out to those as well.
Yeah, those are a lot of great people. But I hesitate to wait until the conference if we can get it earlier, because May 15th is the deadline. So we need to hustle a little bit, getting through the registrar's office right now in COVID. I've got grade petitions that have not been signed by him because he's just swamped, during
Glad that
COVID.
you brought that up, Chelsea. Is there any flexibility with that May 15th, or is that a hard deadline, just so we know?
So the May 15th deadline that I think you're referring to is for the scholarships.
Yeah, which is what the students are going to be interested in. People need the money.
They will not be eligible for the scholarship, Rose, until they engage in the program for a few years, right, Chelsea? So our students
exactly. So at this point, we probably wouldn't have anyone that's necessarily applying for the Noyce scholarship now, but next
until
year.
When? And the second year of the program. Okay,
Yeah,
I misunderstood. I thought they were in the beginning. So let me just go back to there's no cost for the PS5 and the PS105. That's where I got confused. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So they can, and students can enroll in that. So we are actually starting our spring quarter next week. So, I mean, if you have students in the next day that wants to cross enroll for the spring, I'm, happy to try and.
We're going into spring break, dude. We're going into spring break.
Well, I figured. I just want to throw it out there. So likely, we are recruiting for next fall. So next fall, we're talking about PS5, PS105. Obviously, for no one that's taken the classes, it would be PS5. And then, if they wanted to continue on, then they could take PS105 next winter or next spring. And let's say that they were planning on transferring. They only had one more year at the community college, and they're planning to transfer. Then they would apply for the Noyce scholarship next year. Like along with their UC Irvine application, application starts in the fall. So if they're applying there, then they would also apply for the Noyce scholarship in the spring when they kind of find out their admission status and everything like that. So that would be like the quickest way. But a lot of times we're talking about students that may be our first year community college students. So we're really talking about 2 years out. But the main thing is, let's get them enrolled in PS5, get them, interested in this pathway. Is this something that, because oftentimes with the STEM students, right, they're not necessarily thinking teaching, but we're like, no, this is a high need. This is great. This is a great opportunity. There's money here to support you with this. So long as we can kind of get them interested in it, and then we can start talking about what the pathway looks like, the supports that are available, the scholarship money that we have for them, and things like that.
Chelsea, quick question. Do you have an interest form that they fill out, or do you wait until they're enrolled in the class? Like, is there a way to track them before they enroll? Because I feel like the
PS5.
enrollment is so far out for the PS5 class. Like, do you have an intake first? So that way, like, if we get people right now who know that they want to go with you for fall, can you get their data points right now? Do you know what I mean? And get them in your group. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to like be like, and imply in fall because
right. Because summer happens and people forget about what they were interested in. Yeah. Great idea. And unfortunately, no, we don't have anything at this point, but also that we've kind of started, we just this grant this year and we were funding our current transfer students. So we've really only just started kind of recruiting at the community college level. And right now we're working with one of our local community colleges to get them into this. So we have not this like expansion thing and like building something that makes more sense, like an interest form. We're not there yet, but that sounds like a great idea. At this point, it's usually just been like, if you have students that are interested, contact me. And then we, you know, like I said, it's very new. So I have enough students where I know their name, I have their email down, I can put it on a spreadsheet and things like that. So we're not quite at the point where you're talking, but that sounds like a great idea and definitely something that I can look to build.
Okay, keep it simple, friend. You just want to do like a Google form. You know what I mean? Because then you've got it tracked and you've got it wherever you go.
Yeah. So, but first thing, I mean, if you have interested students, just send them my way and I will make sure that we get them situated for fall.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chelsea. What other questions do we have or clarification? Anything else for Chelsea, everybody? Okay, we're quiet, which doesn't happen too often. So Chelsea, so then you'll be in touch. I will send the information out and then I'll see you at the TPP meeting later today too. So thank you so much for coming today. We greatly appreciate this. We're always looking for resources for our students, always looking for ways to partner. So I'm excited to work with you, Chelsea, and I'm confident that our region's excited to work with you. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
So this is a great opportunity for our students. One thing I do want to make sure that I try to be really transparent with everybody. When Chelsea and I met to talk about this and to talk about sharing it with everyone, one of my questions for her was, where do the students end on the salary schedule when they finish the program? It's very similar to ITEP, where they end at the bottom of the pay scale and then they got to go back to school in order to increase on the pay scale. But here's the thing. She has partnerships with her local districts that place the students a little bit higher. So we're talking about how to advocate to get students placed higher on the salary schedule if they complete this program. But out of full transparency, anytime we expedite a credential, it lands you at the lower place on the pay scale. So one of the good things with this Noyce program is there's a certain point where as if the students are guided properly, a certain percentage of their classes will end up at graduate level as post-baccalaureate, but they have to be guided right and fill out the proper forms at the exact moments for that to happen. And even that, it does not get you like, you get like shy of 30 units past baccalaureate. So you're not even to that next category. But I think she said maybe 24 of the units are like count. So it's a little bit, but not everything. So anyways, it's important to note anytime that we're giving strategies for our students that we're always looking at not just that moment, but the long-term impact it has on them. So I have a friend who's been paid at the bottom of the pay scale for many, many years because she got screwed by a Cal State. So we don't want that to happen to people. It's not good. They don't want to stay in our field, honestly. So we have about 8 more minutes left, and I'm going to quickly go back to our agenda real quick. We jumped over our discussion on LEAP and our next steps for our Los Angeles Education Alignment Project. So quickly, because I know we are very close to time here, I'm coming to ask, what direction do we want to go next? Because in our final report, we designated 5 areas of interest and some possible regional development. And later on, we also talked about, and it's later on in this report, we also talked about wanting to do some alignment with our practicum classes in the region. Now, the moment we do that, that's a whole nother group of people we need to invite into LEAP, which is not an issue, but we just need to know that the decisions we make will impact how the group works and how this group works. So we need to figure out, where do we want to focus with LEAP? Do we want to focus in special education? Do we want to focus on paraprofessional opportunities? Do we want to focus on single subject STEM pathways, CTE teacher pathways, bilingual teacher pathways, or aligning practicum? I think we need to choose one area, and that's where we go into next. So what does everybody think?
I'm still torn between STEM and parapro. I think we have nothing strong for our secondary. That's why I went to the UCI meeting and suggested we talk with them. However, I think paraprofessional is something we're already in a good position to make a lot of change on. I think in my campus's case, special education is covered by our early childhood department, which is separate than our teacher prep. And teacher prep's the area that needs the certificates and doesn't have them. So the area of need is stronger in my view in the region in the teacher prep world for certificates. So that led me to think paraprofessional. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. I'm literally making like a chart right now. And it seems like based on what people are putting in the chat too, that special ed and STEM are of interest, paraeducator are of interest. So far, I'm just kind of taking notes. So what else does everybody think?
I also agree with the paraprofessional opportunities and the certificates and STEM.
Mm-hmm. I agree also with Myra. The paraprofessional opportunities are important, especially because we are now on our campus being asked to create digital badges that will zip them quickly into the job market. So we're breaking down into mini certificates, and badges, so they can just go and say, okay, I have a badge in infant toddler, and they've taken those classes. I have a badge in special ed, digital badge. And then when they go to the marketplace, that badge from a Credibly or something, they translate because the badge connects them with skills that the job market is looking for. So it's a two-part thing. The digital badge must make sure they're covering the course of record and the rigors of the study, but they're also connecting them to the job market. And because everything is being done online, when these two are, the badge is connected, they get job opportunities. It bursts up into the websites and they have jobs they can apply to. So I would agree the paraprofessionals and then what's missing there is certificates and degrees and digital badges, because that's the latest thing right now.
I see that also in the chat that Kimberly has mentioned special education. Kimberly, can you talk for a minute about what you're working on with that?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. So this has come up so much at Cerritos through different grants and just different conversations. And we've never had anything out of the education department to offer students in this area as a form of exploration or like a consideration at all. And the concern is, we want to like recruit special ed teachers, but we don't have anything to offer them. Now we've talked with our early childhood education and they have a great class, but it ends at 8 years old. So we kind of ask them, would you like to expand your class like through 12? And then we can recommend it and put it on our certificate. And they really weren't interested in doing that because they said it's just way too much. So our consideration is to maybe partner with them, and then we'll offer in education something from 8 years old through 12th grade or through the age of 21, or we haven't really worked that out yet, but we are talking with Long Beach State about it. We're talking amongst each other. So we're really into this kind of like solving this need in the ed area. So that's where my vote is for special ed. And then of course, STEM is always on our mind and always something that we're continuing to work on. So those are my two, but if I had to prioritize one, I would go with special ed as a priority.
It's tricky because Kimberly, I'm with you in many respects. And my first gut instinct is special ed as well. And then I'm also torn because I know if we do something in a paraeducator, then we can run it quickly as a short term and get stuff going faster. And so I'm like back and forth on that. But in terms of like the needs, I feel like special ed is our biggest need. And I agree with you about early childhood. The class only goes to 8. So that is something huge right there. I know we're right on time right now. And I'm literally writing down everybody's names under the different categories in terms of what we want. And it's almost coming out evenly between special ed, paraeducator, and STEM. And so what I'm going to do, with your permission, is I'd like to take this list of the 6 items, that, because this list also included practicum, narrow it down to the 3, and then I'll do a quick poll with everybody who's in the region who's on our list. And then we'll just see kind of where it sits after that. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, and this is good. I mean, if we end up being close on 2 areas, maybe we then take leap into 2 areas simultaneously. So why don't we'll put it out to, it's great to see that with everybody's perception here, it's almost falling evenly. And so that tells me we need more input, and then we'll figure it out. So I'll send something out to everybody, and maybe see where it all falls. And maybe I can ask what their first priority and second priority or something like that. So that way we have a gauge there. But we are right at time right now. We're 1 minute before the end of our meeting. And I don't know. I feel like we haven't covered everything. There's always more to cover. But with that, I want to hand it over to Yadira, so that way she can kind of close us out for the day. And then I'll be quiet for a minute. So Yadira, would you take it?
Thank you so much, Renee. And thank you everybody for being here. There is so much more to cover. I think that if we let this meeting run, we would probably run till probably 2 with everything having to say. So if for next, just want to remind everybody. So next month's meetings, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. Next month's meeting, is it April 30th? Is it April 30th?
It is April 30th from 9
to 11, and we'll have our update for the we're gonna have Mission College do our update. Veronica couldn't be here today, but we'll have it for next month, and then we'll push Leah, because Leah was after Veronica. We'll push Leah after April's meeting. I hope you're okay with that, Leah. She's probably fine. And then so we have Leah, and then we'll send out a meeting just to see who wants to go.
I had my hands up.
I am so sorry. Oh my goodness, the thumb. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy your day. We will see you all next month, but we'll be emailing everybody regarding the conference and what we come up with.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, you guys.